A is for Allah, nothing but Allah. Ba is the beginning of Bismillah. Ta is for taqwa, bewaring of Allah. And Tha is for thawab, a reward. Ja is for Jannah, the garden of paradise. Ha is for Hajj, the blessed pilgrimage. Kha is for Khatam, the seal of the prophethood given to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على المبعوث رحمة للعالمين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد. Dear brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to this new episode of Ask Huda, coming to you live from Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. Our first question for tonight is from Abdullah. He says, I work for an airline that throws away tons of food and toiletries every day. Can I eat the food and use the toiletries that are going to be thrown away anyway, even though it is against company policy to eat or use toiletries? Jazakallahu khairan. And may Allah Azza wa Jal reward you as well. Brother Abdullah, first of all, who owns the food and these toiletries? The answer is clear and simple. It is the airline. It is the company. Therefore, they are responsible to whatever happens to the food and the other stuff as well. If it is the company's policy not to use such things by employees, in this case, this is something that you have to abide by it. It is not your duty how this thing is going to end. Because at the end of the day, if you were caught red-handed, it would be a breach of confidence, it would be probably a felony, and you would have problems at work, and you do not need such hassle. However, if the thing was already dumped in the dumpster, or it is only seconds away from being dumped, there's no way that it can be utilized or salvaged or used by the company for any other purpose, in this case only, you may take it. But to do as many flight attendants or ground staff do when they come to an airplane after the passengers had gone out and they're doing the cleaning, and they take loads and loads of the food, of the juice, of the toiletries, of everything that they can lay their hands on, this is wrong. And this is abuse of authority. You say that it is inevitably going to be thrown out into the dumpsters. It's going to be disposed of. This is something you claim. There is a 1 in a million chance that all of a sudden they change their mind and they decide to keep it, to recycle it, to give it to somewhere or some person else. In this case, no, you are not allowed to utilize it or do it, and Allah Azza wa Jal knows best. It seems that we have a problem with the phone calls. Stay tuned, inshallah. Hopefully it will be corrected in a few moments, inshallah. Amatullah sent an email. She says, I'm depressed and my family make me hate myself more. I'm not perfect. I'm not a perfect person, and everything I do wrong, my family make me feel awful for it. I hate living, and I struggle to sleep without having suicide thoughts running in my head. I believe I would be better off dead. I have attempted suicide a few times, but I always stop on the basis of it being haram. I read the Quran and I pray. Help me, please. It is sad to go through such an email, and from a daughter whose name is Amatullah, the slave of Allah. And the sad thing is that people do not know Allah Azza wa Jal. If a person has knowledge of Allah and was keen on learning Allah's beautiful names and attributes, he would not ever think of suicide. If a person had knowledge in the Quran and he reads the verses that Allah warns us from killing ourselves and committing suicide, he would not think of it. If a person has knowledge in the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, who tells us that whoever commits the act of suicide, whoever kills himself, he will be killing himself, torturing himself in the hellfire for eternity with the same means that he killed himself with. So if he killed himself through drinking poison, this is how he will be tortured in hellfire. If he killed himself by throwing off a cliff or a high riser, the same would happen. If he stabbed himself to death or cut his veins, this is the same thing that would take place. And this is very sad. Now, most people whom shaitan fools and makes his scene to them through this, he utilizes their weaknesses and he tries his level best to make them overlook the beautiful things in life and make them only focus on the sad things or the bad things. And this is not the right approach. Amatullah, if you bring a piece of paper and write all the beautiful things you have in life, you will run out of paper very soon. And if you get another piece of paper and write the bad things in life, I don't think you will be able to finish a whole page. So you are overlooking the beauty of life due to harsh words from your family, and most likely your family, who dearly love you, did not say these words except because they wanted what is best for you. Maybe they took the wrong turn. Probably they have made the wrong approach. Yet this does not mean they do not love you. It means that they failed to acknowledge the fact that you have feelings and that you're sensitive, and they're just trying to mend your ways by their harsh words. So take these whispers out of your head. Try to focus on life. Try to not be so sensitive. If someone curses you or abuses you or says bad things about you, let it come from one ear and leave and depart from the other ear, and inshallah you will be on the right track. Abu Safwan from Kuwait. Abu Safwan. Abu Safwan, can you hear me? Because I cannot hear you. Okay, maybe Abu Safwan got disconnected. I hope inshallah he calls back again. Sana sent us an email. She says, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Is it permitted to take vitamin supplements which are made from sheep's wool? Now, what is wrong with sheep's wool? I don't know of anyone would consume sheep's wool as wool, but is it pure or not? Well, let me pause here a little bit for Sana and take Abu Safwan's call. Abu Safwan.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. How
Wa
are you?
alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Sheikh, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
The first question is, if a lady is in labor, okay, and although there is a water break, but there is no baby. So by delivery and this water break, what happened to the prayers? There is a qada, or they are forgiven, or she has to make a, what we say, later on she has to complete it. This is my first question.
Okay.
The prayer between water break and the delivery.
I understand.
The second is, do we have to say this hadith, azan in one ear, right ear, and the aqama in the second? Is there an authenticity, or it is obsolete?
Okay. Any more
These
questions?
are the two questions.
Okay.
No, that's all great. Thanks a lot.
Wa jazak. I will answer you, inshallah. So Abu Safwan's first question: a woman in labor, the water breaks. What is the status of salat? The answer is she must pray on time. And if this is too difficult for her, she can combine prayers. So if it's Dhuhr time and she breaks her water and she feels tired and in pain, she may pray 4 rak'ahs Dhuhr and after that 4 rak'ahs of Asr. This is combining, joining prayers at the time of Dhuhr. She may not stop praying until there is blood, because the postnatal bleeding is one of the things that prevents a woman from praying. So if the blood, she starts to bleed and it's the time for her delivery and she's in labor, only then she may stop praying and she's exempted from praying. The second question is about the adhan, calling for prayer, in the right ear of the newborn child. There is a hadith, but the hadith is not authentic. And therefore, such a practice is not part of the sunnah, because we cannot bring something to life and claim that this is rewardable unless it is from the authentic sunnah, and there's no authentic sunnah backing this up. As for the iqama in the left ear, this is totally baseless. And I don't know when they will pray the actual prayer there itself. Some say, yeah, this adhan and this iqama, when the child is born, because when he grows up and dies, we perform funeral prayer without an adhan and iqama. And this justification is baseless. It has no foundation, none whatsoever. So yeah, one must not do this. Going back to Sana''s question, now the issue of taking vitamin supplements that contains or that is derived from sheep wool. The first question to come into mind: what is the status of sheep wool? If we shave a sheep, or when we slaughter, or when we kill a sheep and we take the wool, this has no life in it, and hence scholars say that the wool of a sheep is pure. This means that it has no impurity or najasa in it. Therefore, if vitamin D3 is extracted from it, if any type of vitamin after removing the cholesterol from it is purified and processed and extracted, this is totally permitted and there's nothing wrong in that, and Allah knows best. Dan sent us an email. He says, can someone chat with a girl online with the intention of getting to know her for marriage? Dan, in Islam, this is known as dating. And this is totally prohibited. And so many people, ignorant people who do not know Islam, or they know Islam but they're sinful or follow their desires and whims, who have followed such a process of chit-chatting and flirting, maybe going out with girls, claiming to do that with the intention of getting married, to know one another. They've done this for the past 10 years, and this is actual dating. This is totally prohibited in Islam. One would say, okay, how would I then know my future wife? Akhi, the Islamic way of marrying to some may seem primitive or outdated, but to us Muslims, this is the only legitimate way of getting married. You hear about a girl, you check on that girl from your mother's side, your sister's side, your relatives, mahrams, who go and check how her religious commitment is, how she looks, how her behavior and moral conduct is. Once you are satisfied and content with the overall picture, then you go and propose to her father. Her father interviews you usually. This is what happens. Well, actually, this is what happened to me, and this is what I usually do with my daughters as well. And he looks and talks with the suitor to see and check if he's suitable or not. He goes and check his background, asks about his friends, where he lives, where he prays. Does he pray Fajr? Does the Imam know him? He checks on him at school or at workplace. If everything is green, then he sets an appointment for the interview or for the meeting. The boy comes alone, usually, sometimes with his mother. The mother sits with the girls and with the females of the house, and the boy sits with the father. After a while, the girl comes, usually with glasses of tea or juice, and maybe spilling it on top of his head out of nervousness. You never know. But this happens, and she sits. And the father tries to moderate the meeting. And he asks her, and she asks him. They look at each other. If there is a spark, after the interview, which usually is in half an hour to an hour, is over, the boy's family calls after a day or two saying that he likes what he had seen. What about you? The girl mother says, wallah, she liked what she had seen. Only then it goes on for the engagement, then the marriage contract, and that's it. And 99.9% of marriages take place in the same fashion, and people live happily ever after. Alhamdulillah Azza wa Jal. But the minute there is dating or chit-chatting, you tend to look for raising the bar a little bit, for something more interesting. And this is totally against Islam. Abu Bakr from Nigeria?
Yes, yes.
Yes, my friend.
Yes, my question is this.
Yes.
I am suffering from certain illness. And I'm suffering from certain illness, and one malam told me to write Surah Al-Ikhlas. If I write Surah Al-Ikhlas, I wash it. If I drink it, I will recover from my illness. Is that permitted in Islam?
Okay, any more questions?
Yeah, this is the question.
Okay, I will answer you, inshallah. Brother Abu Bakr has a particular illness, and he asks about a process that is known to some, which is writing verses of the Quran through saffron or through a certain type of leaves on a glass, then washing it, then drinking it. So what's the ruling on that? There isn't anything as such in the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. However, the Salaf, and it is reported that some of the companions and the Tabi'een had recommended this procedure, especially when a person is either possessed or has a spell on him, especially when he is unable to consummate the marriage with his wife. He's blocked, he's prevented. So they recommend doing this procedure by writing the verses of magic mentioned in the Quran the Ayat al-Kursi, the last three surahs of the Quran, Surah al-Ikhlas, al-Falaq, and al-Nas, the last three chapters of the Quran, etc. And it seems that as long as it is through the Quran, and it was reported by the Salaf doing it, that there's nothing wrong in that. Insha'Allah. It is dealing with the Quran, seeking Allah's healing and cure from the Quran. Likewise, if you bring Zamzam water or normal water and you recite Al-Fatiha and you dry spit on it, and Ayat al-Kursi, the last two ayahs of Surah Al-Baqarah, Qul huwa Allahu ahad, Qul a'udhu rabbil falaq, Qul a'udhu rabbil nas, and you repeat this 3 times, 5 times, odd numbers, and you drink excessively throughout the day and night from it, this has great benefits and value with the grace of Allah Azza wa Jal in uplifting the illnesses one suffers from: jinn possession, magic spells, envy, envy or an evil eye. All of these will be removed by the grace of Allah, because you're not going to Tom, Dick or Harry and asking them to recite Quran or to make ruqya for you. You are actually going to the source personally. So you are addressing Allah Azza wa Jal, and you're seeking the cure and the shifa from Allah the Almighty Himself directly, without putting any intermediate between you and Allah Azza wa Jal. And inshallah, this will be easily cured with the grace of Allah. Zari says that he asked a few weeks back if someone about 7 years ago vowed that if Allah would bless him regarding something, that he will pray 2 rak'ah of gratitude after every fard prayer except Asr and Fajr, as long as he lives. But then someone told him that this is an innovation. So his question is that what is expiation for that? How many people should he feed? And must he do this for every day or once and for all? First of all, taking a pledge, what we call a nadhr. So if I say, if Allah Azza wa Jal grant me this job, then this is a pledge upon me to slaughter a camel and distribute the meat to the poor and feed them. This is nadhr. It's different than oath, where an oath is, Wallahi, I will do this tomorrow, or Wallahi, I will never do this tomorrow. An oath you can expiate, as mentioned in chapter 5, Surah Al-Ma'idah, that those who break their oath, they must feed 10 poor people from the average food they eat, or clothe them, or free a slave. If they are unable to do any of the three, it's up to their preference which one they choose. If they're unable to do this, meaning financially they cannot afford it, then they may fast 3 days. Whether it's consecutive or not, it's an issue of dispute, but it seems that it can be any 3 days. It is highly recommended to be consecutive. So this is an oath. Now let's come to the issue of pledge. When it comes to nadhr or pledges, the Prophet said, alayhi salatu man nadhara an yuti'i Allah falyuti'h, that whoever pledges to obey, to worship Allah, he must fulfill his pledge. This means that if I say, I will fast every Monday and Thursday as a pledge from me to Allah Azza wa Jal, if Allah cures my child's illness, and Allah cured my child's illness, in this case, it is mandatory for me to fast every Monday and Thursday till the end of my life. And this is self-imposed. And this is why Allah does not love it. The Prophet ﷺ prohibited us from making such pledges because it overburdens us. And he told us ﷺ that such a pledge is a means of extracting from extracting charity from someone who's miser or stingy. Usually I would not pay in charity, but because I need this thing to happen from Allah Azza wa Jal, so I pledge. If you do this for me, I'll slaughter a sheep. I'll do this and that. So it is not permissible, it is not recommended. It is permissible, but it is highly not recommended, and Allah Azza wa Jal knows best. Now, coming to your question, Zari, the issue is that you pledge to pray after every fard. And this is a form of worship. You must do and fulfill it. What happens if I skip it? If you skip it once, you have to expiate for the skipping it by feeding 10 poor people, clothe them, free a slave, or if you're unable, fast 3 days. What happens if I do it again tomorrow? Then you have to expiate again and again and again till you die. But if you reach a stage where you are unable, because doctors say you must not do this, or there is something that prevents you from fulfilling such a pledge, and it's beyond your ability, in this case you may expiate once, and this would count for all. Sama from Saudi. Sama.
Hello, Sheikh. Good evening.
Good evening. What can I do for you?
Sir, what's this? I just only want to ask a question.
Yes. Yes, Sama. Can I have your question, please?
What's this? How many times a Muslim man get married?
Okay. Any more questions?
And then my second question, Sheikh, is what's this? If, for example, I'm not a Muslim and then I want to get married a Muslim guy like this, I should also convert as Islam?
What religion are you, Sama?
I'm a Roman Catholic.
Okay. Any more questions?
No, that's only, Sheikh.
Okay, I will answer you, inshallah. Sama is a Roman Catholic lady asking 2 questions. The first question is, how many women can a man marry? The answer is, he's allowed to marry 1, and this is the normal, and he may marry more than 1 with harsh conditions up to 4. And this is totally logical, totally humane, and totally beneficial for the whole community. If you look around, you'll always find that women, by default, are more than men. Simply because men die earlier and faster. Maybe because of women, maybe not, because of other reasons, but car accidents, wars, illnesses, they're more exposed to danger because of the bread earners usually. So in almost every community, you will find that there is a surplus of women. If these women do not have someone to care for them and to cater for them, then there will be imbalance in the society, where a woman has a man and there are 3 or 2 other women who are unable to get married, but they are human, they are females, they have their own needs and desires as well. So Islam came to fix this problem by allowing men to marry up to 4, but with very harsh conditions that would make a person think more than twice. So he has to be fair in expenditure, he has to be fair in expressing his feelings, he has to be fair in spending his time. He cannot spend 2 nights here and 1 night there. He has to be very fair in every single aspect, even in gifts. I love this woman, but I have to give the other woman, the other wife, exactly the same gift or equivalent to it as I gave to the first one. This is very difficult, but it's applicable. So it's not an easy ride where a man goes and gets married to a second wife and it's like taking another girlfriend or a date. No, this is a really serious thing, and there is grave and serious punishment for those who fail be fair with their two wives. If you can't be fair, you are prohibited to marry more than one. If you're able to and you think you can do it, then this is okay. As for if Sama wanted, as a Roman Catholic, to marry a Muslim man, and there is a decent, honest Muslim man who wants to marry her, she is not obliged at all to convert to Islam. There is no compulsion in religion. Islam tells us in the Quran that a Muslim woman may not marry anyone except a Muslim man. This is it. There's no compromise. But when it comes to the Muslim man, a Muslim man can marry a Muslim woman, let me rephrase that, a Christian woman, whether Protestant or a Roman Catholic or whatever, or a Jew woman. Only these three women that a Muslim man can marry from. Any other religion, it is totally prohibited for us to marry from. So if there is a potential suitor who is interested in marrying you, I would definitely advise you to accept Islam, not because of the marriage, even if there is no suitor, but because Islam is the only true and divine religion. It is the last religion of Allah. And I know this because I've been preaching this for the past 30 years. And I'm always open to questions and to challenges to prove to the people that our religion, Islam, is the best of all religions on this planet. And I believe that on or in this universe, and Allah Azza wa Jal knows best. So this is an invitation to you, Sama, that you may consider this, and I'm always at your disposal if you need any more clarifications. We have a short break, stay tuned, and inshallah we'll be right back.
Allah, la ilaha illallah.
Definitely a Muslim must take the guidance for his life according to the manhaj, that is the methodology of the messenger, and should always strive to follow the way of the Prophet ﷺ in his character and dealings. The book titled Interactions of the Greatest Leader, the Prophet's Dealings with Different People, written by Sheikh Muhammad Saleh Al-Munajjid, director of the Zad Group. For more information, please visit the following websites.
Allah, la ilaha illallah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, and welcome back. Jabin sent us an email saying that, is it permissible for a Muslim to use perfume, soaps, and moisturizing cream containing alcohol? Now, the question is specific. The ruling of the existence of alcohol in such things and substances. She's not asking about the ruling on going out for a female wearing perfume. This is a different issue. So to answer your question, Jabin, the answer is this is totally permissible. There is nothing wrong, inshallah, in wearing moisturizers with alcohol in it, perfumes, deodorants, makeup, whatever. Alcohol does not affect your purity. You can pray with the substance on your body without any problem, inshallah. Abu Bakr from Nigeria.
Yes.
Yes, Abu Bakr.
My question is in the Quran. In the Quran, it is said that the food of those who receive the scriptures before you is lawful to you, and the Muslims are to can marry the Ahlul Kitab. Now the question is, who is Ahlul Kitab now? Are Christians from Africa, can they be considered Ahlul Kitab, or only the Jews are Ahlul Kitab?
Okay.
Can I marry a Christian from Nigeria now, or from any part of Africa? Is she an Ahlul Kitab?
Okay.
Oh, yes.
Any more questions?
Yes.
Okay, I will answer you, Abu Bakr. Abu Bakr is referring to, if I'm not mistaken, ayah number 4 and 5 in chapter 5, Surah Al-Ma'idah, in the very beginning. So you can look it up, where Allah tells us Azza wa Jal that the food of the people of the book is permissible or permitted for us. And the consensus of the scholars is that the word food, وَطَعَامُ أَهْلِ الْكِتَابِ, the consensus is that ta'am here is referring to their slaughtering, to the meat. Meaning that if a Buddhist or a Hindu or an atheist prepares a meal that is totally vegetarian and he actually cooks it, can I eat from it? No problem at all. If he cooks meat that was properly slaughtered, can I eat it? No problem at all. What is problematic and prohibited is when a Buddhist, if ever they slaughter, though I don't think they would slaughter, except our brothers in the Rohingya in Myanmar, may Allah Azza wa Jal save them and protect them and have His wrath over the enemies of Islam, or a Hindu or an atheist comes and slaughters an animal. Such an animal, after being slaughtered, is dead meat. It is haram for me, it is najis, I cannot consume it, I cannot buy it, I cannot deal with it, I cannot touch it. Because in order for an animal slaughtered to be halal, it has to be slaughtered by a Muslim, by a Jew, or by a Christian. So this is what is meant by the food of the people of the book. So we got this point out of our way. Now the question at hand is, who are the people of the book? The people of the book, as it is the interpretation of the vast majority of the Muslim scholars, are the Jews and the Christians. Now the different divisions in Judaism doesn't make any big difference as long as they are known to be Jews. Likewise with the Christians. The principle of their belief in the existence of Allah, the principle of their belief in the Bible, whether the New Testament and the Old Testament, despite their differences of the Dewey version or the King James version or revised New Version, and the few additions or few deletions of the books and chapters, this is beside the point. The concept, the main concept is that they call themselves Christians. Now, if a faction comes and says, oh, we are Christians, but all the Christians denounce them and say, no, they're not Christians, like Scientology, for example. And if they say, no, these are not Christians, their preaching is not Christian, they don't rely on Christianity, then we don't consider them as Christians. But the vast majority in Africa, as Abu Bakr is asking, are Christians. They believe in Trinity, they believe in the cross, they believe in Jesus being the Son of Allah, of God, as they falsely claim. And we believe that this is disbelief and kufr. Yet this still makes them within the boundaries of Christianity. So basically, yes, you can marry a Christian woman of such a faith. Is it advisable or not? This is something else which I was not asked about. Khadija from the US.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Salam rahmatullah.
I have a question. I have a nazar on me. Like I said, I have a little issue. I say I pass this issue, I'm gonna pray like 2,000 rakah. So I didn't pray like whole every amount. I prayed some and then I left some. So I have to start beginning, or I have to start over, or what I have to do.
Did you make this time bound, Khadija?
No, yeah.
No or yes?
No.
Okay, so it's not time bound. You just simply said, if this thing happens, I will pray 2,000 rak'ahs. Correct?
No, it's like, okay, yes, it happened, but I start praying, but some I left some. I didn't finish all of them.
Okay, I will answer you. I will answer you. Any more questions? Okay.
That's all. Thank you so much.
وجزاك. Umar from Kuwait.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Salam to Allah wa barakatuh.
I have questions that you just mentioned minutes ago. You mentioned about that the dating thing and this and that. So when we supposed to do istikhara, first meeting the if we get some proposal for my son or daughter, so then we supposed to do istikhara before meeting the person or after meeting them, and so.
Okay. Any more questions?
What is a good time? Yeah. Another question is that I'm traveling in 2 days to US, but I booked my ticket and did istikhara, and so now I'm sick. I have very bad. So I don't know if should I if I postpone it. Maybe go after a week, but then I did everything like booking ticket with the istikhara and everything. So in this case, what shall
You made istikhara to travel and you fell sick.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I will answer you. Any more questions?
And one more thing, when some the lady, she was asking, she's Roman Catholic and she wants to marry a Muslim person, but one of our friends, he got married. He married to a Christian person, a lady, and what happened? They have children and they all become Christian, and so in this case. What is the good thing if someone married to the Christian and she's not ready to change herself and now the children become Christian too.
Okay.
So and the husband is a Muslim.
Okay.
So
any more questions?
No, thank you so much.
I will answer you, inshallah. You're welcome. Khadija from the US, she did not clarify her question, so I'll give her two scenarios. One scenario is that she said, if my son passes tomorrow's exam, I will pray 2,000 rak'ahs and I will not sit until I finish it. This is something that is not possible for a person to do because it's time bound and one does not have the ability to pray 2,000 rak'ahs in a row. This is impossible. In this case, we tell her, expiate your pledge by feeding 10 poor people. The scenario two, that she did not set a time limit. So she said, if this happens, I will pray 2,000 rak'ahs. So this means that she can pray daily 10 rak'ahs over the duration of 100 days to come. She can pray 100 rak'ah a day for 10 days to come, or for that is 20 days or whatever. I'm bad in math, but you get my point, that if it's not time bound and it's a form of worship, you have to divide it according to your ability, whether you finish it in a month, in a 2, in a year, but you have to fulfill it, and Allah knows best. Umar says that when should we offer istikhara? When a suitor comes to meet my daughter, or after he met my daughter and left. There is no harm in performing istikhara every step of the way. So tonight is the meeting, we've agreed upon it, we set an appointment, pray 2 rak'ahs istikhara. The one who's meeting. So if you're meeting the mother of the boy, then you pray. If the girl is meeting the boy in the presence of her father, then she prays. After the meeting is over and they give their liking and they say everything is fine, we have a green light, and she says I have a green light, so before sending the approval, pray 2 rak'ahs and go ahead and send it. The wedding set is next week. Before after we've agreed on the date, we pray istikhara and so on. There's nothing that a window opens and you see light coming down to you, or you see a vision in your dreams telling you that, wow, this istikhara was positive or not. No. You decide You pray istikhara and you go on with it. And this is why when you prayed istikhara because you wanted to travel and you fell ill, this is the answer for your istikhara. This means that you should not travel. You're ill. So you stay ill for a week or two, you recover, you become healthy, alhamdulillah, and then you want to travel again. No problem. Make your booking, reservation, make sure your mahram is with you, everything is intact. Pray 2 rak'at istikhara and ask Allah. And go ahead. If there is good in it for you, Allah will make it happen. If there is no good in it for you, Allah would deflect it as He did when you fell sick. Thirdly, about a man who married a Christian woman and had children from her, and they all turned into all became Christians because of her. With all due respect, this means that the man was not a real man. He did not have a good grip on his family. He did not have the wit and logic and the wisdom to deal with his children and with his wife and try to call them to Islam and have quality time with them. Yes, if he is like those who go to Europe or to the States, work their backside off, working 15, 16 hours a day, not knowing how his children even look like, because he's just trying to buy a 50-inch LCD screen or a new car or pay for the mortgage of the new villa. In this case, definitely they will become Christians because he did not spend enough time with them. But those who marry a Christian woman is like any other woman. If she feels that her husband loves her and cares for her, she would love to stay married to him and obeying him and raising his children in accordance to his preferences, not according to hers. So it goes both ways. Basically speaking, it is halal. It is permissible. I know a lot of families who had Christian wives in the beginning and became really true devoted, practicing Muslim mothers. So this is not the golden rule that they will become Christians, and Allah knows best. Anna says, my mom is 40 years old and she is diabetic patient. She is 10 weeks pregnant, meaning that the fetus is 70 days old. Doctors suggested for abortion due to health risk for mother and birth defect of baby. So what should we do? If there's no way to avoid this, and not only one doctor, you take a second and a third opinion from trustworthy Muslim doctors, and if they tell you that there is defect in the fetus, and it's only 70 days of age, and there is danger on the woman, the mother herself, this is permissible for her to abort, inshallah. Khadija says, I do understand that tahleel ceremonies, that is supplication and dua together for the deceased after death, are not according to the sunnah. So what can I do if I'm invited and I feel that I will break my kinship if I don't respond? This is a bid'ah, this is an innovation. And whenever you're invited to a wedding, to such a gathering that involves innovation or sins, you are obliged not to go. Whether they love it or hate it, what you are more concerned of is doing what Allah loves, and Allah Azza wa Jal hates you to go to such places. A man says, how do I balance between doing a lot of dhikr and reading the Quran with wanting to gain as much knowledge as possible? Akhi, you have to balance. I always get such questions, and you share with me your opinion as well. If someone comes and says, I have to do this, but I also want to do this, and I don't have time. So it's either my way or the highway. A lot of the brothers say, should I learn Arabic? Or should I memorize the Quran? Or should I read the tafsir of what I am reading or memorizing from the Quran? You are not giving me any alternatives, akhi. You are putting me in a corner and telling me which one should I prefer. This is not the right way of doing it. You have to balance your time. So memorize, instead of a full page a day, memorize half a page. And devote an hour of your time to read the tafsir of that page, and take a couple of hours or less or more classes in learning Arabic. This way, you would slowly and gradually gain knowledge. But if you simply just focus on one field, that is Arabic, you lose the ajr of Quran and the tafsir. And if you only memorize Quran, you don't know what you're memorizing and you don't know Arabic. And if you only focus on tafsir, again, you lose this and that. So a Muslim has to balance his time, utilize it 24/7, so that he would reach the ultimate objective, which is Jannah. May Allah Azza wa Jal make me and you among the inhabitants of paradise, the highest level of it. Ameen. And with this, we come to the conclusion of tonight's episode. Until we meet you same time next week, I leave you fi amanillah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
A is for Allah, nothing but Allah. Ba is the beginning of Bismillah. Ta is for taqwa, bewaring of Allah. And Tha is for thawab, a reward. Ja is for Jannah, the garden of paradise. Ha is for Hajj, the blessed pilgrimage. Kha is for Khatam, the seal of the prophethood given to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.